What's good with the YouTube? You already know. Big Flacco from Convict's perspective. Smashing, dashing, sliding on through with what? A little bit of energy. And as you already know it, man, it's about that time. I got to do a profile on the self-proclaimed general himself, Lorenzo Lencho Guzman de Sanjo, Vario Horseshoe. So let's go a little bit of history of this individual. Lorenzo Guzman Lencho. He was recruited into Vario Horseshoe, became a part of that hood somewhere between, I think, 79 and 82. I don't have the exact years. So throughout the years, man, he was, out there doing his thing. They used to call him Lynch Mob. That was another nickname for him out there in the streets. And, he was always doing his thing. He was always a moneymaker out there in the streets, always had a little bit of hustle. And then one time he was putting in work. He used to work, believe it or not, when he was part of Horseshoe. People don't realize this. Down the street from Horseshoe is what you got called Rose Garden. Back in the 80s, there was a lot of Italian mafia or Italian associates. They all controlled Stevens Creek area, all out there in San Jose, as well as a lot of the restaurants off the Alameda, okay, all the way down to Willow Glen. So at one time, there was an individual named Raymond Johns, okay, who was suspected of a killing back in 81, strangling one of his girlfriends. Then later, I guess, one of his wives years later. And he was somewhat a Bonanno associate, as well as there was a lot of other individuals that were working under the Bonanno family out there in San Jose. And Lencho used to work for these individuals. He used to go out there and dissuade witnesses, witness intimidation and so forth. Him and some people from Horseshoe, they were tied in with the Italian mob at that time, which the San Jose Italian mob wasn't big, but they had a presence out there. And I think they had more along the lines of more associates than that of Italian-made members. But the influence from the Italian mob was actually out there in San Jose, which later on it kind of severed ties. But this individual, Raymond Johns, was making a lot of money. And he used to hire the NF to do a lot of his bidding, whether it be to pick up debts that were collected, extort people, or dissuade witnesses. And Lencho used to work for this individual. So around 1990, as we know, 89, 90, there was individual Carlos Weasel Mejia. He needed to get hit. They had all kinds of issues regarding this individual. Victor Sleepy Esquivel, right, ended up having to get it cleared through Pantera. Pablo Peña, who was an NF member from San Jose, very, very high ranking at that time, had a lot of influence. He's the one that was part of the D facility dilemmas between him and Smiley. But at this time, he was in the county jail. And apparently, he gave the orders and authority to have this individual whacked. Now, Lencho, Sleepy, and Weasel, they were at a spot out there in San Jose. I think it was close to Weasel's house or someone's house. I don't know the exact place, location, right? But Lencho was supposed to earn his bones. I don't know if this was his hit to his blood in to be an NF member or if it was to be an NR member, because he was probably relatively young at this time. I think about 23 or 24. So the plan was they were going to take him to the liquor store, and they were going to hit him in the car. Now, what ended up happening was they decided that may not be the wisest move. Let's get him outside when he's least expecting it. So when they get there, Lencho's being given this order. Lencho comes up to him and tells him, "You're through," and stabs him in the side, right? And then leaves. He didn't get the job done. Weasel was able to somehow come up on a car. I think he stole a car or something like that and drove himself to the hospital. He ended up living, and he ended up testifying against Lencho, as well as an individual named Indio Agundez, because there was a lot of communication going on when they got there. And see, they were reporting this to other NF members that ended up defecting. So the case was really easy. Sleeps ended up, I think, getting 25 to life. Lencho ended up getting, I want to say, let me see, he got out around 99. So he got about 12 years, I believe, around that much time. Maybe more, maybe less. I'm not too sure. So, Lencho goes up to the Bay. He's pretty much a forgotten member at that time. He's up there. He has, always had a lot of pull. You know what I'm saying? Always was able to generate a lot of income on some facets, right? But there was also a lot of disappointments on him as well. Now, I was told through a carnal that in Brass's eyes, he was deemed a disappointment at one time, that they actually had high expectations. I remember Wino Zarowski, who was an NF captain, actually put Lencho on freeze for a minute. And the one thing about Lencho that was he was able to do though, right, is he was always able to stay in contact with individuals. You know, whether it be Skip, Pinky, or whatnot, he always stayed in contact, man. And so he steps out. You know, he didn't really have an illustrious career behind the walls. I don't know of him to ever put in any work behind the walls. His claim to fame was a hit that he didn't even get done. Um, so he gets to the streets. Immediately, we're hearing about him out there. We're trying to contact him. He ends up catching a violation at that time. Um, so when he catches that violation, I end up running into him in San Quentin. And he was the RC at the time, the regiment commander. And maybe it was 2000 he got out. Um, he was the regiment commander at San Quentin, and his actions were totally contrary to what I had seen from other NF members. Um, you know, my first day, I wasn't cleared for yard for till like a month or 6 weeks because I had to wait for my C file. So I'm watching everything from the walk along cages, and the first thing I noticed was that back in the days, the old 6 yard where East Block was at, all the soldados would be in formation, right? And you'd be attentive, you would respect the security. Those security posts that were right there posted up ready to take off on someone, you would really respect them. Everybody had to have their head held high and show acknowledgement. Now, while this was going on, they're in the corner now they have tables out there, sitting there with his leg up and talking stuff while we're in formation. And like he made it mandatory that all the C's did not have to stand in formation. Now, back in the days, a lot of them used to still stand in formation. He didn't make it mandatory for them to do machina, you know? So there was already that little superiority role that was being foreseen. And I didn't like it. I just came from Corcoran, where I was with Carlitos and Sombras, Wino, Chilo, a bunch of in our soldados, man. And the way they operated there was everybody was treated equal. It didn't matter if you were a C or a Northerner. You were going to be given that same respect. Just some people had more responsibilities than others. And there was a lot of unity there. Now I step into this, and this is totally contrary to what I've ever seen. Now I've already had a good rapport with Huicho, and we started chopping up a little bit. He's bad mouthing Lencho and all kinds of stuff, And you know, eventually I start communicating with him because he was looking at me as an NF prospect, as a candidate to recruit, because he had the authority to recruit. And so this is when the homeboy Nano from San Leandro, what's up, brother? When I was trying to send my kites back and forth, Nano ended up telling Lencho. Lencho comes at me. The first time I really seen him and talked to him, comes up to me. And he goes, I run this fucking place, and whoa. And, you know what I'm saying? And I'm just like, all right, you know, there's not much I can say. I got to respect the authority in charge. I'm still young in my career. Even though I've been out there in the streets functioning for like over a year and a half through Operation Black Widow, you know what I'm saying? I got this dude that's really hasn't been putting in any work or made any money over here using his rank and status to try to belittle me right there. You know what I'm saying? So I'm all right. So we start chopping it up. And he says he has contact and everything with at that time we were calling it Rita. That's where all brass was at. Corny, Pinky, and all them were over there, Tibbs. And I said, well, tell him Sticks. So he goes to his first visit. Peggy comes up and he goes, Sticks. And she goes, Flaco? Oh, he owes money, but we know he's good for it. Came back, I go, oh shit. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what the fuck he's talking about. But I had to respect it. That's his lady. So he starts walking me around the circle. He goes, yeah, San Jose, that's my area. I'm going to be in control. So you're going to be pretty much working with me. And it's just me and him and Huicho walking. I'm all right. I'm already feeling kind of unsure about that as it is and stuff, right? And but you know, I made peace with it. You know what I'm saying? But the thing is that I used to see about him was he was quick to give directives to people and discipline people, but he couldn't live up to those same expectations. You know what I mean? He never worked out. He looked sloppy. You know what I'm saying? And even when he made that call on, he didn't make the call, but he had to honor it on George Lucky Mendoza. He waited till he went to visit for it to happen. You know what I'm saying? And I even heard the directives he told Huicho was, make sure it doesn't happen until I'm at my visit. You know what I'm saying? So he wasn't even on the yard to look Lucky in the face after they removed Lucky off the yard. You know, so, you know, there's a lot of complaints, a lot of abuses. that were talking about Lencho. He's done a lot of faulty shit, but he had pull, he had rank, so no one was gonna question it. You know what I'm saying? And if you're part of that business or a member, whatever one does, as long as it's not done to another member, you're not really gonna worry about it. You know what I'm saying? So he gets out, and instantly I get out maybe about, well, before that, he ends up going to Salinas Valley. And he ends up getting hit, right, by fucking, what's his name? Fast Eddie Barra, who's always been with the business, man. The self-proclaimed founder of the New Flowers at that time. And see, this is the era where there wasn't no SNY yet. He was in the hole. And I guess he played Lencho out of pocket, gave him hygiene, magazines, and so forth. When Lencho was leaving, he said, come here. And the doors have little cracks at the side. And so Lencho went to put his ear, bam, he hit him. We got word a week later about it. But it was that an NLR got out and hit him. But none of that was true. Because when I got there, I found out different. So I get to the streets. First thing I hear is that Lencho got hemmed up. I meet up with the brother Gonzo. Boxer from San Fran touches base with me. Me and Gonzo get picked up by J-Lo, who was Bobby Silent Lopez's wife at the time. And we get picked up and took it all the way to Salinas. We meet up at a Motel 6 with him and Smokey, and we're discussing different things that we can do and who's MIA and who's incommunicado and, you know, different things that were going on at that time. And the conversation came up about Lencho. And they were just fucking pretty much laughing about his actions. That he was out there fucking showing big money and stuff like that in front of females, trying to be impressive, which I would see later on that was his stilo. That was his get down. He was always trying to impress people by wanting that attention, that he was somebody. You know what I'm saying? And so eventually, I'm working under the Salinas Regiment at that time. And my channel at the time gets hemmed up. And it's been a while since I've been in contact. And I was just starting to recruit 2 people that I was going to pull to work with me that was working through Salinas. Because I was in San Jose, but I was functioning under Salas. And I had Demetrius, Kojak, Young Buck was even working with us. The homeboy Roper, who's now in Nuestra Cosa, Boo Boo, all kinds of cats. We had all kinds of gente. And it was actually fucking Monster. And the other homeboy fucking Conejo came out, and I tapped in with him. I just met this brother for the first time, and I'm like, well, let me wait till I get in contact with my people. And then Conejo's like, well, I can get a hold of Peggy. I'm close with Coco, and whoa. I said, I don't know if I'm gonna do all that, bro. I'd rather wait instructions, bro. If you want to work with me, you can work with me. If you don't want to work with me, do what you got to do. You know what I'm saying? And eventually, after talking, man, I'm like, well, you know, go ahead and let her know. You know what I'm saying? Because I already know that she knows me, right? And so he ends up going up there and telling Peggy, and then it became a fucking shitstorm. Next you know, I'm on fucking freeze for fucking the situation with the homie Sonny Demetrius, because he robbed Gato, right? And didn't pay Gato for like 13 pounds of weed and all kinds of other shit that really didn't apply to me. But Peggy and Lencho were pushing the issue. Why was he getting at my wife and this and that? It's like, well, bro, everybody knows who your wife is, bro. You even told me she knew who I was, you know? And so what happened from there was, you know, I was on freeze for maybe 5 days. I did nothing wrong, you know what I'm saying? Sonny went up there and visited his uncle. That was actually Skip's nephew, and let him know what happened. I was cleared. Next thing you know, I'm getting a call from fucking Bubba or Smokey at the time. Everything's all good. You guys need to come up. And so everything transpired. And Lencho ends up getting caught for the case right before I got out, like I said, man. And I get to Corcoran. He's there. He's in 4B4 right, and he was having issues at the time. I think he was on freeze for a minute for some actions, and somehow he got his way cleared at the time. Regiment commander was Silver at the time. You had other C's like Armando Quinn and Sombras, Smilone. You know, there's a lot of individuals there. You know what I'm saying? And I was given his name to reach back when I got out. You know what I'm saying? And so when I got out, I remember how things had ended between me and Lencho, that he was pissed at me for getting at his wife at the time. So fucking, I sent him some fucking money, and I wrote him a fucking letter. You know what I'm saying? I sent Sombra some money. You know what I mean? I only had to reach out for a little bit, but I sent him like $100. And then I sent him some more money again. He reaches back to me. And then he tells me, this was what was funny. He puts fucking Silver's cell number and says, "Don't reach out to him no more. He got issues." He's talking about Sylvester Gomez. I'm thinking in my head like, okay. So we're out there doing our thing. Lencho touches down out there in the streets, and we go over there. Me and another brother go over there to go meet up with him, give him some fatty out, and let him get on his feet. And instantly he's like, "Oh, I want Flacco." I'm like, "Nah, I'm okay where I'm at, bro." I wasn't trying to go over there. And this is where Lencho actually first started to work out there in the streets and started trying to get things done. He had his second in command, Shorty Clayton Clark, who I knew personally well. He had a lot of cats from San Grande that were working under him, Primo and Happy and the brothers over there. And, he was trying to ascend position of authority out there over all the regiments. So he was shutting down certain communications that were going on because Pocky was out there in Salas. Pocky was given instructions at that time to take over the streets. And he was claiming incommunicado from the generals that were now in AdMax because they had just got sentenced before I got out. And so Lencho was doing everything within his power to try to fight that. You know what I'm saying? There was juntas about that. There was meetings. And I remember hearing fucking out of Lencho's mouth talking about fucking Charlie's too young. He didn't know any better. He almost gave up the regiment out there to Salinas and all this stuff, man. And I'm just peeping game on it, man. I'm like, I just started to see certain things. We had a cool relationship at that time. You know what I'm saying? But it was one of those scenarios to where, as long as he didn't affect what I was doing or mistreat me, we're good. You know what I mean? Whatever your business is, your business. And I started to see different cutthroat things in regard to him. You know what I'm saying? We started to hang out a little bit. Like I said, his wife at that time was a homeboy from my hood's mom. Because I remember they've seen each other, and I was talking to her. I said, "Okay, you guys need to connect." They had already met beforehand, and they knew each other from years. But I put in his ear that, "Hey, that's the homeboy's mom, man. What's cracking? You guys were just hollering at the bar the other night." And he's like, "Okay." Next thing you know, they got married. So my hood actually had ties in with Lencho as well. You know what I'm saying? The Peter's homeboys, Lencho, his homeboys from Horseshoe and so forth. Because of that because of me and because of the homeboy from my hood and his mom. So as things are going on out there in the streets, we started to have a lot more conflict going on out there in the streets. And like I said, it was between Salinas and San Jose. It's always been like that. It's always secretly been like that. No one wants to admit it, but there's always been some animosity between San Jose and Salinas. Who's more stronger, who's more powerful, who has more solid seas, and so forth. And this was transpiring back then because there was about like 6 or 7 seas out there in San Jose at the time. And Pocky being given control, there was a couple of individuals that did not like that because Pocky's always been, like I said, one dude that will stand up and do what he feels is right according to the laws that he knows. But there was an issue regarding him when he was backing up Copas and to where he was deemed at one time, got cleared and everything. So a lot of people did not really know how he still got that position. You know what I'm saying? He let people know in the Bay, if you got a problem with Copas, let the door be the bell. You know what I'm saying? And that's how it was. But he was a very, let me say, very good operator, politicker. You know what I'm saying? So that's what was going on. The tension was rising. You know what I'm saying? Salas and Sahel. And, from there, they were campaigning. And at the same time, they were campaigning against the other individuals. Lencho was trying to push the narrative of what he felt about certain people and what they've done. And he was trying to basically pass judgment on individuals as if it was facts. You know what I mean? The situation with Boxer. You know what I'm saying? He was putting out there that Boxer was flipping to everybody out there when there was no facts and it wasn't true. You know what I'm saying? None of that was true at the time. So he was basically slandering Boxer's names at that time in 2005 as being no good without facts. And everybody was backing him up on that. So all that you've heard previously about what Lencho was doing, that's all true. I heard it from his own mouth. Because I used to go over to his house a lot. I wasn't working as far as under his area, but we had a working relationship to where we were able to do business. Technically, we weren't supposed to do it, but we did it anyways. And, I just started to see a lot more scandalous movidas from him. There was a situation to where I had to find someone. I find the individual for improper statements. You know what I'm saying? As far as on a stolen car, homeboy Z from Milpitas. And so I was getting the monthlies on top of that. I was getting the fines and I was submitting all that. You know what I mean? Because I had my own crew at the time. And he was actually advising me that I shouldn't report all my fines. I should pocket it in my pocket. You know what I'm saying? In addition to that, there was a homeboy out there that used to date his stepdaughter that he looks at as his daughter from Milpitas. And when that individual got out, they ended up taking a pound from him and said, look, we're keeping this. If you have a problem, we'll kill you. Which I get that. He was beating on her and all that. You know what I'm saying? But after it's no longer an issue, you let go. You let bygones be like bygones. He actually got at me around that time to find out information because they wanted to hit his safe house. You know what I mean? As much as, you know what I'm saying, as committed as I was, I didn't see nothing right in that. And I'm like, man, that's some scandalous ass fucking shit. And see, I just started to see these actions and so forth, man. And just previously, before that, I had plugged someone in that just stepped out to report to him because I did not want them in my area. And that's where the whole issue stems from, the situation with my ex-wife, him not backing my play, him trying to get me hit, all kinds of shit. Trying to claim that I was an informant when I wasn't yet. You know what I'm saying? He had an axe to grind from the past with me. And I don't know if my actions were intervening on his. I don't know, because he, you know, of course he had more established manpower and so forth and was generating probably a lot more money, but he wasn't even submitting all his money. He was too busy gambling and spending on fucking ridiculous shit, you know? And, you know, I think that there was I think his incentive was this, that everything that I had established was known. I had a lot of good establishments. Not like him, but it could be more beneficial for him to bring in more. You get what I'm saying? I was doing some things. So if he could take over everything that I had going, she's going to blow up. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be even more money for him. And so I think he was pressing the issue on the secret down low. Like I said, him and another individual in around 2005, when nothing was going on, to try to have me hit, which was declined when it was requested to pocket, which I found out. I just barely found that out recently. And so that just goes to show what type of individual he is. That he could harbor that much animosity or want that much control that he would try to have a decision made to have me hit, that he's not going to do it himself, but trying to have the green light for it to be done. Because there's always someone out there that's ready to hit somebody. Now, I heard that later, that they were trying to deem me no good and put a green light. I thought maybe, you know what I'm saying? Maybe I'm a detriment on functions and so forth. Maybe someone's pissed off. I didn't know the severity of it. I didn't know it turned into false rumors, false propaganda that was created by Lencho or whoever else to try to get me hit, which actually led me to defecting anyways because of their actions. You know, there was a situation happened with my wife. It doesn't matter. I put in enough work for years that my work should have been good. You know what I'm saying on that. You recruited me at that time. You know what I'm saying? What's going on here? And see, that this is why everything makes a lot of sense now, is why everything was going the way that it was going. I was a little bit blinded by everything, man. There was a lot of haterism, you know, and that's what pretty much led to my demise. So here we go having Lencho, you know what I'm saying? He ends up in the county jail. We all know how he got there, and he ended up building other cases on other individuals, you know, because of his loose talk. You know, as well as out there on the streets. They used to call each other red, black. Red was fucking Weddle. Black was fucking Wino. And Brown was Charlie. They used to call him Charlie Brown. And those were like the main code names. You know what I'm saying? They used to have these walkie-talkies, these Netflix, so they could just walkie-talkie everything out. And he ended up bringing his wife into all the meetings and so forth, man. And then he was smoking a lot of KG on the down low. In fact, when we were in the county jail, we both went in at the same time. He came in and he had some KJ, and he ended up sliding some KJ. We ended up smoking some KJ on the 4th floor right before I was about to get transferred, man. But anyways, he was telling everybody that he was about to go in on a parole violation because he got in an accident and he didn't have his motorcycle license. Nah, that wasn't true. First of all, he broke his leg because he was on a bed. His wife at the time was fucking clowning him. And he gets up there and he's going like this, I'm the general, I'm the general. And he falls off the fucking bed and breaks his fucking leg. The reason why he was going to go into prison on a violation was because he had a dirty test of PCP. So he was lying once again to try to cover his fucking tracks. You know? Anyways, so he gets to the county jail. We already know what time it is there. He resumes control because he has basic seniority, he has time and grade, and he has connections with brass. And eventually, you know, he ends up building more cases on other people because of his loose talk on the phone. His wife ends up looking at an indictment. She ends up flipping. She has all the codes, all the phones, all the communication with everybody. Everybody else got hemmed up because of Lencho. You know? Now, not on top of that, he ended up having other conspiracy charges used against him. So he tried to have an individual named Joker testify in his trial saying that Joker was the one that gave the green light. What kind of shit is that? I've never heard of that in my life day. An active homeboy can go in there and testify and admit that they're a gang member and say that they put a green light. You know what I mean? So that was all the questionable stuff. He ends up getting time. As we know, his career was short-lived when he ended up locking it up, from my understanding. Now, there's a rumor. I don't know how true this is. I'm not even going to speak on it right now. Something may have happened to him 6 months ago, so we need to check into that. But, you know, this is a true story about an individual who, you know, was greedy, corrupt, selfish, and did all the things that were contrary to what you would expect of an individual that's pushing a positive agenda. You know, if you were benefiting his pocket and helping you out, he'll do anything for you. He will clear you even if there's even something that you should be deemed over. And he also had a lot of issues with other individuals that he was using his authority and rank to have individuals deemed no good. David Lacon Gonzalez put a false check on that individual, said that he was a New Flowers. You know what I'm saying? But yet he comes out and he clears, you know what I'm saying, Jack Ochoa, who's a good dude, but clears him because why? Jack Ochoa had the plug through Silencio and through Gallo. All these individuals, they were one of the main plugs out there. They had the resources, so he cleared them. So that's the type of motives that Lencho had. You know, if you weren't benefiting him and he didn't like you, you were going to be falling in favor. You were going to get deemed no good. You know what I'm saying? And this is just the type of individual he was. Now, don't get it twisted. I kicked it with him a lot. There was a time period where I seen past all his business transactions and just knew him as a person. He was different. He was okay. We got along. You know what I'm saying? But when I seen the corruption and greed and how if he thinks that you're going to value him, he will turn a cheek to any type of improper actions. It doesn't matter what bond is being violated. It doesn't matter. And when I started seeing him trying to tell me to do certain things that were not ethical, that where if I got caught, I would get fucking deemed direct myself, it's when I started to question everything. But see, you're put in those situations where someone with that much rank, that much pull, if you try to fight back against them, I'm saying no one's going to have your back. You're put in an uncompromising situation to where you have to accept it and hopefully get somewhere else later on to where someone's going to listen to what you have to say. But the truth of it is, people like Lencho, there's a lot of them behind the walls. And when they make decisions, a righteous seer could know that Lencho has all kinds of faulty issues with him. He's still not going to touch that case. Carnal's always right, and that's part of their fucking mind state. Because I was always taught that an NF member always takes precedent over anything else. They're always going to be right. You know what I'm saying? So this is a scenario, man, about Lencho. A little profile, like I said, you know, from Horseshoe, worked for the Italian mob, the Banana family as a Horseshoe member, did a hit on behalf of the NF. You know what I'm saying? From there, it was always a shaky ground. You know what I'm saying? They always had higher expectations for him, especially at that time back in the 90s. You know what I'm saying? And there's a lot of people say that his co-defendant had lost a lot of respect for him, which was Sleeps. You know what I mean? Which everybody says is a righteous dude. There was also complaints about Lencho not forwarding money orders he was supposed to up to Pelican Bay. You know what I mean? Doesn't surprise me though. Anyways, this is my version. This is my experience. This is my knowledge of the individual. Everybody may have some different type of relationship, different type of rapport. This is what I know, and this is what I foreseen from myself. You know what I'm saying? This is what I went through. As we already know, it went a little deeper than that. But I've already told that story, so I'm not going to keep on rehashing all shit that already happened. You know what I'm saying? Anyways, it's your boy Flacco, Convict's Perspective. I'm out.